Happy Halloween.
Hello and welcome back to the channel. It is indeed Halloween. We're kicking Halloween beer season off with this, a pumpkin spice latte spiced amber ale from Fierce. And no, you don't have to put it in the comments. The scariest thing about this entire video is the spot that I've got here. Really annoying. Anyway, on to the beer. This is from Fierce. Now, initially on buying this beer, I nearly didn't because I thought, well, I've seen that that's on basically on cheap in the Scottish Little Beer Festival, so I can get my Scottish cohorts to pick me one up. But turns out, not the same beer, not the same one at all. I can't remember what that one is, but I will review it at some point. However, this is their premium offering, I think it's fair to say. Before we break into it then, here is a quick look at the can. It's a very nice pumpkin-y spice latte kind of thing going on. Fairly standard Fierce format, but yeah, loads of info on the back there. But a very nice looking can indeed. Quite a lively beer. I'll be honest, it looks gorgeous though. In the glass then, I mean, it's a properly amber beer. It's, yeah, very orange. In fact, in front of the light that you can't see, very pumpkin coloured, which is always a nice sign. It's got a thick, slightly foamy, just off-white head on it. It's a pretty clear beer, to be honest. There's a tiny bit of haze to it, but not a lot. So, aromas. Sweet coffee, and I don't know if it's just because I've had a few of them recently. Seeing a pale beer with a coffee aroma, it feels very much like a white stout, if I'm honest. Is there anything else on there though? It smells sweet, there's definitely some coffee in there, and there's a slightly malty caramel quality. And there is also something of kind of a sweet gingerbready quality to it as well. I wouldn't say it was, maybe ginger is the wrong word, it's not gingerbready, but it is, yeah, a sweet, slightly spiced bread. Anyway, let's get into it. Cheers. Okay. Now, there is always a concern, I think it's fair to say, around, well, pumpkin beer in particular, Halloween themed beers, that maybe it's more style over substance. And I've had some absolutely, well, deplorable beers. This is far from perfect, but it's got a nice sweet coffee flavour up front, and the back end is very traditional, low-key, good malt amber ale. It is hitting both marks. Now, I must say, the head's dissipated pretty quickly, and it is a bit thin. What is the ABV on this beer? It's 5% flat, so that's not really an excuse. And whilst it is thin, it's very drinkable, and it's actually oddly thirst quenching, which, given the spices and the coffee element, is a little bit of a surprise. So, certainly not unenjoyable. Right, top to bottom taste test. So, initially, very light carbonation. Not a lot on the front of the tongue, if I'm honest. It's very, well, watery in that very first stage. Even second bit, again, it's really quite dulled down. The experience you get from this beer within the first, I mean, it depends how quick you're drinking, but you know, in those first couple of stages, let's say the first half of the tongue, there's almost no flavour there. All the experience is actually coming through the nose. You're getting that aroma back, which, to be fair, it does a pretty good job of simulating some flavour, but it isn't truly there. However, if you drink at normal speed, on the back half of this beer you get, initially, the coffee hit, but it's light, smooth, very sweet coffee. It doesn't really kick in with a lot of flavour until the aftertaste, truthfully. It's not very flavourful at all while it's in your mouth, which is a really odd thing to say. Tiny bit of bitterness, I mean, I'll be honest, actually, as I'm getting down that, the less and less flavour I seem to be picking up. I'm going to take a moment's break, come back to it, and see what has happened.
A few moments later.
Right then, we've had a few moments away. I feel like maybe the more you drink of this beer, just your tongue acclimatises it to it just a bit too much, and well, you're left with not a lot of flavour, which is disappointing. That's better. So, as I say, when you're drinking it in quick succession, it's quick to lose, but there's nice sweet coffee there. There is ginger, maybe a bit of nutmeg. Not a lot else though on the spice front. There's definitely a kind of a low-key spice vibe to it, but none of them are really strong enough to properly pick out. And well, there's no real pumpkininess to it. It's very much pumpkin spices, not pumpkin itself. It doesn't have any. Well, I mean, pumpkin doesn't taste of a lot anyway, but it has a kind of sweet, earthy nature. There's not a lot of that in there. And as I say, at the very end, you get that pretty good malt profile, to be honest. So, not the most flavourful beer, bit thin. Actually, quite a good session beer. I could easily drink this for a long time. Although, again, with that maybe acclimatisation, you may get bored of it pretty quickly. So the key takeaway flavours from this for me are the sweet coffee, some very subdued spices, and to be honest, a fairly decent amber ale backbone that just falls a little bit short in the body department. But I've had much worse. I'm glad it wasn't too expensive. Though that said, I've just taken a look at what I paid for this, and it was £3.75, which, compared to some of the others I bought, well, actually, it was a bit more expensive then. Nearly £4. Is it worth nearly £4? The price of everything is going up. We've got to keep that in mind. It feels like no. I think 3 would have been fine. 350, pushing your luck, and 375 or whatever it was. No, I think for me, I mean, we're not really arguing over 25p here, really, but you know what I mean? It's nearly £4, and for that I expect it's a little bit more quality that's unfortunately not quite there, but it is enjoyable, I will say that much. So let's take a look at the can. On the front then, it says small batch, fierce, pumpkin spice latte, spiced amber ale, and on the back it says again, pumpkin spice latte, 5%, packed with all the autumnal flavours you'd expect from a pumpkin spice latte: ginger, nutmeg, cinnamon, coffee and vanilla, set against a sweet malt biscuit backbone. Let's break that down, shall we? So ginger, yeah, I said ginger earlier on a little bit. Nutmeg, yes. Cinnamon, I don't really like cinnamon. I wasn't picking up much of that. Coffee, yes, absolutely. Vanilla, not really. Then again, it probably gets a bit muddled in with all the others. But the sweet malt biscuit backbone, yeah, absolutely, for sure. It's vegan friendly, has all their info on here about where they are in their Aberdeenshire, in Scotland, and there's not much else on there, to be honest. It's all legal spiel, and 2.2 UK units in this can, 440ml can. Interesting. Would I buy it again? This time next year, probably have one. It's a nice novelty beer. It's not too bad. I feel like they could probably improve it. I'm slightly worried about the one that's going in to Lidl, I think it is, in Scotland, because I'm pretty sure that's going to be the same beer with some elements removed or made cheaper. I might be wrong, but you would assume. And if we cheapen that out a bit, it could be a bit of a train wreck. So, food for thought on that one. If anyone has the one from Lidl before I get my hands on it, let me know in the comments below what you thought of it, or indeed, if you've had this one, let me know what you think of that too. It's a difficult one. Pumpkin beers are always a little bit suspect. I've had some great ones. I've had some absolutely awful ones. To be honest, this runs pretty much down the middle. It's not terrible. It's just not particularly great either. I think you get the idea. And on that note, that really is everything. So as always, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like it. If you haven't already subscribed, if you will be so kind. And I'll catch you next time. Cheers. This is Halloween, this is Halloween.